This is perfect.
Yeah, it's really nice tonight.
So, continue. What is it that has convinced black voters to support Democrats?
Yes, I'd like to know that too. It just doesn't make sense, based on the racist history of the Democratic Party.
Well, it's as much about the mainstream media as anything else these days.
Are you saying they're biased toward Democrats?
Oh, calling it biased just doesn't do them justice. Just last year, leaked email messages from an online forum for reporters and commentators called The Journalist have revealed some journalists' true colors.
Like what?
First, Dave Weigel, a Washington Post reporter covering conservatives, lost his job after it was discovered that he made offensive comments about some of the very conservatives he covered. Weigel's targets included Pat Buchanan, Newt Gingrich, Rush Limbaugh and Matt Drudge, whom Weigel suggested should set himself on fire.
Yikes.
Holy crap.
It turns out that Weigel, whom the Post apparently thought was a conservative, voted for Barack Obama, John Kerry and Ralph Nader for president. Afterward, he had to take a job at the liberal cable news network MSNBC. It came to light that in 2008 a group of journalists tried to protect then-Senator Barack Obama from a scandal that threatened his presidential campaign. Journalists from Time, Politico, The Baltimore Sun and The New Republic, among others, expressed outrage about questions regarding the Reverend Jeremiah Wright that Obama received during a debate. Some of the journalists conspired to shield Obama from the controversy. These incidents shed light on a pervasive problem within the national media. Most reporters have a liberal perspective and it affects their reporting.
Really? Most of them?
Yes. Some years ago Robert Lichter, with George Washington University, and Stanley Rotherman of Smith College, released a groundbreaking survey of 240 journalists at top media outlets, including the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report, ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS, on their political attitudes and voting patterns. The data showed journalists hold extreme liberal positions on every social and political issue.
What kind of issues did they cover?
Well, more than 4/5 voted for the Democratic candidate in every election between 1964 and 1976. 30% said that private enterprise is unfair to workers. The majority agreed that the U.S. exploits the Third World, and is the cause of their poverty, and our use of resources is immoral.
That's crazy.
Are they insane?
3/4 of them actually disagree that we help the Third World.
Crikey.
In '85, the Los Angeles Times conducted one of the most extensive surveys of journalists in history. Using the same questionnaire they had used to poll the public, they polled 2,700 journalists at 621 newspapers across the country. Times staff writer David Shore reported that 55% of journalists said they were liberal, with another 12% saying very liberal.
So, how does that relate to their bias when it comes to blacks?
Good point. You've clearly explained their political biases quite profound, but how does that connect to the Democrats' racist history?
Well, it begins with the fact that no single group or individual has used the race card more often or more deliberately than the press. No group has worked harder to create a climate of class warfare between whites and blacks than the mainstream media. Despite the fact that history shows the Democrats to be brutally racist, the mainstream media has worked for the past 30 years to promote the idea that it's conservatives, when in fact, it's been the Republican Party who have fought for the rights of blacks from the time of Lincoln, to this very day. The mainstream media outnumber and overwhelm conservative press in every venue but radio, so their message is what is most often heard. And they continually promote the idea that conservatives are racist, completely ignoring what the facts of history clearly show to be the opposite.
So, how can you expect the truth of what the Democratic Party actually represents when it comes to race ever come to light?
Exactly. Well, the truth is that we need to begin to look at our own history, what our real history has been, and why the mainstream media lies about it, until black voters begin to understand that nearly everything they think they know about Democrats is a lie, will continue to be used to promote a racist agenda, through an imaginary war of the classes. No group has worked harder for the rights of blacks in America throughout history than the Republican Party, and in fact, it was the reason they came into being in the first place. But until black voters begin to understand that fact, we will continue to be treated as second-class citizens by the very people who claim to be our allies.
The Democratic Party.
Exactly.
Quite a daunting task, I am afraid.
Daunting, yes, but not impossible.
Well, it's getting late. What say we meet tomorrow morning for breakfast to discuss this further?
Good idea.
Okay, come over in the morning. I make a mean omelette.
Sounds great. Let's call it a night.